There's been a lot of evolution. We have been seeing new technology pop up and so on. And suddenly it looks like AI is probably creating that impact of this is the kind of change or the scale of change that we have never seen before. And that's sort of worrisome for some people. They feel that they're getting left out. That's sometimes an opportunity for some people. You do product pathways. How has your perspective been on the whole technological landscape?
Definitely feels like another wave, kind of like Internet 2.0 type situation where there's another, maybe a spike in acceleration. So if you think about like growth curve and we're just getting steep all of a sudden. Definitely feels like another one of them. And to that degree, though, digital acceleration's been pretty fast over the last decade. Like, obviously we're spiking, but like a lot has happened. Like I've got like this smartwatch on, and phones, Internet of Things have all come about. SaaS, social networks, a lot has kind of happened. I think for me, change happens all the time. You can't predict when one of these spikes are going to happen, but I think from a business and product context, the important part is to think about. So this is something I spend a lot of time with my clients with is like if you just take like a three horizon model, we'll just go with a simple one. You've got like horizon one, two, and three. If you're not playing in those further horizons, eventually that horizon is going to become so horizon three will eventually become horizon one. And if you haven't
Yeah.
played in that space, then you're not prepared for it. One of my clients was doing work in this AI 3D kind of animation space, and that was pre Chat GPT. And that was also pre Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook rebranding himself to Meta. So they were kind of playing in that space, and then that all happened. And then they kind of rode that wave a little bit more, and they're still riding the wave, and we'll see where they go. But I think that's a good example of playing in that space and preparing for it. Then you can kind of ride the wave, as opposed to the companies that didn't. The wave comes, and then they're kind of playing catch up.
Jeff Bezos said that think in terms of decades, not years. And he's talking about like how Amazon has had a great quarterly performance, but then he very casually goes and says that, this quarter was planned like 3 years back. How can someone think in terms of decades today where things are changing so fast that you don't even know what is going to be like the norm?
I mean, this is the hard part about strategy and probably business and product in general, right? Like the future is inherently uncertain. So you can't predict the future. But what I think you can do is you can spend time trying to reflect and understand. And, when I talk a lot about strategy, I talk about building strategic narratives, not a new concept. A lot of people talk about that, but it really resonates with me. And the notion being that we need to form narratives about not only what has come about in the past that's led to today's situation, but also to build a narrative of what the future might hold as a result of all that. Now, obviously, that's going to be based on a level of assumptions, a level of beliefs, and just stuff that you just can't know for certain because it's the future. But
Yeah.
the past half, you can base it off real data. You can base it off real insights. You can base it off trends. You can base it off those types of things. So you kind of have this mix, and maybe it's a mix of the art and the science coming together, right? Where the science of looking at the past and the data and looking at the preconditions that led to today and making that analysis and drawing insights from that and building a narrative, as well
Yeah.
as trying to project a narrative into the future of that, which that is going to be inherently uncertain. The part of like looking into the future is to not be afraid to do that. I think sometimes we want certainty, so we get
Yeah.
stuck in the present because we're just looking at the numbers and the data and the things that we can actually know. We need to accept that there's a level of uncertainty. We need to accept that business is placing a lot of bets. I know when I use the
Yeah.
terminology and others do, some people don't like it, they don't resonate with it because they think like it's like you're betting, but you are. Like I'm putting, for some companies, you're putting millions of dollars into something and we don't know if it's going to be successful. You've got to accept that that's part of the puzzle. I think what you can do though is when you do model that future, it's important that you have conviction around that. So you should believe in it. It's hard to rally somebody behind that if you don't even believe in it. The last thing is to be able to have mechanisms to be able to pivot when things do change. So if you do think like, I don't know, OpenAI is going to go down some path and ChatGPT is going to do this and that type of stuff, have conviction about that, but then also be open to the idea that, hey, we could get 2, 3 years later and something completely new could come. And I'm prepared as a business, as a product to be able to pivot and make those changes. Yeah.
Yeah.